Friday, sunny with a high of 80. And we got about 5 minutes left with Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. She is on the Talk of the Town with us this morning. And, Claudia, I think before the CBS News rudely cut us off there, we were talking, or you were discussing a little bit. I think both camps may be putting out statements, so we're commenting on this issue. But as we get down to the last day of session in New York State, the statewide single-payer health care system, which would permit New Yorkers to enroll while eliminating some of the restrictions, the deductibles and copays. But I know you have some concerns about that as well, Claudia.
Oh, this bill is government-run socialist health care that will literally, I mean, even California, as crazy as they were smart enough to not to put it through. Gottfried puts this bill up. Anthony has voted for it 4 times. It would threaten the ability. I mean, many people who are in unions have spent a lot of money. Especially, I just focus on them because some of them have some nice health plans, whether they're teachers, corrections officers, past CSEA. If this goes through and the Senate ends up passing it and the governor signs it into law, it will literally bankrupt New York, and it will destroy all these great plans and things that people have put their money into. And it is a disaster. I mean, it is a complete disaster. It's the worst thing that can happen right now. And he's voted for it 4 times. I think it's really worth noting this is dangerous when somebody does something like this. Another dangerous thing is when somebody takes, like Anthony Brindisi proposes, these preposterous measures, like the recent, the bill that he wanted to put into end exports of gasoline and oil and crude exports. Hang on, I got a truck going by. This would actually cause the price to go up. This was actually Democrats in a bipartisan way with other Republicans ended this practice years ago. I mean, he's just pandering and throwing out things that sound good but are not good policy.
You're talking about banning the exportation of crude oil or refined petroleum that are derived from federal land.
Right. Well, the whole thing that was already determined to actually raise the cost of gas. The biggest problem we have in New York is we have some of the highest gas taxes imposed by our state and because of our sales tax by our local government.
Yeah,
this is the problem we have. This is why New York State has got some of the highest gas taxes in the nation.
Yeah, we're 10 or 11, I believe, as far as the nation.
I mean, going after the suppliers is not the way that you do this. I mean, gas is a commodity, so it just shows a level of economic, illiteracy and lack of understanding of the commodity and nature of producing these types of fuel.
Claudia, could the legislature, New York State, could it easily? I know easy is a difficult term, but is it well within the legislature's control to lower the state gas tax if it wanted to, or are there other factors involved?
Absolutely, of course they do. The state is who imposes the gas tax, but the problem is, years ago, they started rating this. Remember, originally when the taxes on gasoline were proposed in New York State long ago, there was a proposal to put a so-called lockbox on it. That means that they can't use it for anything else. It has to go to dedicated highway fund. Well, we moved away from that long ago, and that money just gets swept into the general spending and funds, which is why you see a crumbling infrastructure and the inability of the New York State to really care for our roads properly. And that money, we should have been investing in our roads and bridges for years because of that. Instead, we've left the CHIP funding, that's consolidated highway funding that goes to the local governments. We've left that flat for many years, and many of our local governments are struggling just to work with the budgets they have. All of this could have been solved had we actually put a lockbox on our state's gas tax and dedicated it to maintaining our roads and highways and necessary infrastructure. We didn't do that. So that's one of the things that's in. But
Rocco's right. We're only number 5 on the highest gas tax in the country.
Tax, yes, I'm sorry. I was referring to the
gas
price.
We're only number 5?
Only number 5.
Well, New York cannot stand not to be number 1 in terms of highest taxes, so they got room to grow here. They got to raise that up. We can't be less than number 1 highest taxes in the country.
So I think, Claudia, the only way, and you pointed out, though, I think on the federal level that the tax has remained flat, and she's well over 20, close to 30 years, I think. In this case, but taxes would be largely the way to affect gas prices, I guess. Both, if you look at.
Well, remember, the sales tax is imposed as well. So we have an 8.75% sales tax.
In the county.
4.75 goes to the county, and the other 4% goes to the state. So we're imposing that as well on the local level. So this is a lot of what's causing our prices to be high. If you drive over into another county with a lower sales tax, you're going to pay less in gas. This is where Oneida County continually puts itself at a disadvantage with even neighboring counties because of our high sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
By now we should have, if we're, with all these things that have been promised, the Utica Nano, I'm looking at, Anthony Brindisi promised us 1,000 jobs in 2013, and then it was 1,500 jobs in 2014, and lauding the investment of $1.5 billion into SUNY and the Nano Center. And where are we with this? These are the kind of things that government, and we're looking at, a series of corruption trials. Obviously Elaine Caballeros is on trial right now. We're finding out there's bid rigging and corruption.
Dean Skelos back in Manhattan. Yeah, Dean Skelos back. Dean Skelos is back in Manhattan too, I believe. Yep.
Silver, everybody, Silver got convicted again, but this just continues to go on. We had the Percoco trial where he was convicted. I just don't see how this doesn't all touch the governor. But, Anthony is part of this whole Albany crew. These are the people that brought us all this. Mm-hmm. These are the people that championed and lauded all this, and all of a sudden now, there's radio silence, which, I like to use, that's his term. But I have to say one more thing that really irritates me is that the Observer-Dispatch is one of the most disgraceful newspapers I have ever witnessed. And there's days when I regret the fact that we sold our newspaper to them, although it was Gannett at the time.
Well, Claudia, I know there was an article on Sunday, yes.
They do these prepackaged stories. They call us up, and they don't even get in touch with me, and we literally have 5 minutes to try to correct what they put out. And they put out these deceitful and deceptive stories, and it's literally a calculated hit job against me. The way that they, don't put some information and put other information in. I sat with the President of the United States 2 weeks ago in a bill signing on 2 bills that I put in that were mine, that were passed on the floor of the House, that were included in a package with the Senate, 2 financial services bills that help their small community banks. And they put me down as a zero in having bills passed. It's like, this is ridiculous. They were included in an omnibus bill. Yeah, it was one big bill, but there's basically the language from my 2 bills were put in there. They include, there's a difference between an original co-sponsored bill and what they call a multi-sponsored bill. Mm-hmm. They put in only my original co-sponsored bill, not the, dozens and dozens of multi-sponsored bills. But I think original co-sponsors where I drew the line on your show. I said it was original co-sponsored, and I'm standing to have 5 at the end of the year that are substantive. I'm not counting Richard Hanna's memorial coins and his post office, which are nice. They're great for our community. But I'm talking about substantive policy that actually changes the way, doing what we're supposed to do as legislators. And, I'm going to probably have at least 5 bills by the end of the year that are substantive. I don't mean 6 or 7, Richard had, I think he had 1 substantive bill. Mike Arcuri had 2, and, Sherwood Bowler had 4 in 24 years. They put him down as 11 bills, but 7 of those bills were of the ceremonial type. Not that those aren't great, because I think they're important, and I'd be happy to do those for people who really deserve the merit in our region, but that was what I was distinguishing there.
Right.
And instead, they cobbled the story together. Then they never discussed what my accomplishments were at Rome Lab, because you know what? My accomplishments are undisputed, but they did not want to give me anything good about what's been going on at Rome Lab. They threw in some Sherwood Bowler random, he gave him $25 million and had a building named after him. We have literally secured a record amount of money for Rome Lab, and it's because of aggressive advocacy. That's the only reason.
Well, so, Claudia, I know...
I just get frustrated.
No, some folks say they can't find you, but you're right here every Wednesday with us on the Talk of the Town, 7:30 or as close as we can get. And I know you clarified your points on your Facebook page, at least as well. So if the public is out there...
I appreciate what you do. These false narrative that's coming